Good morning, everybody, or good evening, depends on when you're listening to this. Welcome back to Coach's Box. I'm Anthony Simon, long-time supporter, and I think 8 or 9 rides I've done with Hands Across the Water. Today we have Cam Merchant, who has an amazing story of resilience, story of finding love, and yeah, just to unpack some of these things. And he is truly has lived one of the most resilient lives of, I guess, many people that you'll ever meet. And I want to talk about that side of things from surviving the tsunami, like literally in person 20 years ago, to becoming a father, a husband, and an amazing son, obviously, and a beacon of light to so many through his work through Gotcha for Life, and obviously his journey through being a professional sports person and going through retiring, where a lot of people don't understand the challenges from after that experience, let's say, because I think it is an experience because it's such a short period of our lives. So Cam, welcome to Coach's Box.
Anthony, thank you so much, mate. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's so interesting to sit back and just hear and listen to so much that has been unpacked in my life sometimes, and especially at a really pivotal time when we commemorate 20 years later in the Boxing Day tsunami. And it's a time that without doubt changed the trajectory of my life and the experience that it was, and the perspective that I saw from so many different angles, the journey and the story that was mine with my parents and so many others that I remember hearing, listening to that day, that honestly completely changed, as it did for so many, no doubt. But in my life, it changed it forever, both ups and downs, without doubt.
And if we looked at that, and I think that's obviously a very, very great place to start. And so if you can explain, going back 20 years, one thing, I looked up a lot of things, but I didn't look up your age. So I can't say how old you were back then. If you want to share that, 20 years ago, you were there with your mum and dad, you were separated when up to there was, and just everyone needs to sort of contemplate and remember that there was over 225,000 people lost their lives in 14 countries. There was up to 30-meter high wall that came through and devastated, this region in the world. And there was Cam. You were there with your mum and dad. Walk us through that.
Yeah, look, maths isn't my strong point. So in terms of age, I'm 40 now. So that's 20 years ago. That's an easy one for me and for you.
An easy one.
I was 20, and I was, funny enough, I was celebrating my 21st, which is January 4 as well. So I took my parents over because I just started to make something of myself in terms of the professional cricketing world, and I'm an only child. And I took my parents over for Christmas and for Boxing Day and celebrate the new year, my 21st, and just to say thank you so much for the support that you've given me throughout this time. And I'd start make something in the cricket world. I was really proud of myself and so thankful and grateful for my parents. And we headed over Christmas. We landed Christmas just before Christmas Day. And without doubt, Anthony, what I look above is perspective, and perspective is everything, and the timing of your life. And I'm so grateful for some of the things that did happen when you look back and you connect the dots and you go think, wow. So one of those moments was we logged in at reception, and I booked nothing but the best for my parents. I had a pool room just below pool deck, ocean view, oceanside, everything like that. And we got there, and basically they said, so sorry, Mr. Merchant, we've double booked and we can't have you in that room that you want. We're going to have to put you on level 3. And at the time, I think we all go through moments where we kick stones. We go, no, that can't happen to me. No, this is not good enough. But I had to get on with it. And so we did. So we packed our stuff, went to level 3, not thinking anything of it. Had the most amazing Christmas day. You can imagine it like this. The sun was shining. It was just a beautiful blue skies. The local beers were flowing. The tourists. We just had a beautiful day on the golden sands of Patong Beach. we'd had plenty. We had a great time, and it was certainly a Christmas day that we would never forget. But I still say, I never thought that 24 hours, less than 24 hours later, it'd be a Christmas day that I'd never forget for, unfortunately, the wrong reasons. And
yes,
come Boxing Day, we got the call. We got the call from reception to say, Mr. Merchant, just letting you know that your room is ready. And we started packing our bags. I went out the back to get some food. And as my folks were heading down to go to that room, the wave had crashed and the tsunami had hit. And that 30-meter wall that you talk about, it plowed through the beaches, from the beaches across the road into the Hotel Merlin beach in Patong, and took out everything in its path. And I'm talking, I mean, people have seen footage, but I just remember thinking, is this a movie set? Because buses and trucks and cars were just being picked up and flung into shop windows. And yeah, it was a sight, and there was the chaos, and there was stress and panic, and rightfully so. But the thing that had happened at that time was I'd lost my parents for 8 hours. I'd separated from them. I came back, and all I could do was basically just try and help as much as I possibly could. I was able-bodied, but some people were in a really distressed manner. I genuinely believe that what kept me calm was that I was pretty dusty and a bit hungover from the day before, so that sort of just kept me at ease a little bit. And I did what I could. And 8 hours later, I still hadn't found my folks. What was crazy about it was the room that was supposed to be in was filled to the top, to the roof, with water. So looking back, you never know. You just never know what that could have been. I was hoping for my parents at the time that they hadn't actually logged in there, that they hadn't actually checked in. And I remember thinking, wow, I remember reception saying, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Merchant, we'll make it up to you." And I remember thinking, do you think they made it up to me? Absolutely. So in life, it's all, you just got to trust the timings of things that happen, and they happen for a reason. And I genuinely say I'm a bit spiritual, and I genuinely say that the universe at that time was obviously holding me back, or holding us back from something, or it's holding you back from something more important around the corner, or they're protecting you from something. And that was so grateful that it was in my case. And 8 hours later, the evacuation bus came and got us, and they basically said, "So thank you for all your help. We have to put you on an evacuation bus. There could be another wave coming. We're not sure." And we headed up to the evacuation points, back logged into the middle of the city. And the first evacuation point came, and people got off and reunited with their loved ones. The second evacuation point happened, and people got off again and reunited. And I was the last person on this bus. And I remember thinking at the time, okay, this is not great. And then the driver turned around to me and said, "Young man, I'm so sorry. If you haven't found your folks, I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to get off regardless, because you can't come back down with me." And I remember just literally putting my head in my hands at the time and thinking, wow, I could be living the rest of my life just on my own here. And as we sort of pulled up to the last stop, and I looked out the window, I literally just was sort of shaking. And I looked out, and my old man just came walking around the corner. And I always say, do you know, like he had like the local Thailand Red Bull shirts on. And the first thing I think is like, mate, when did you have time to go to the local markets? Like, when did you immerse yourself in the culture? So there was a light side to it, and he had a smoke in his hand. He was ripping them back. I can imagine it's a really stressful time. I don't think he smoked that much at that time as well. But I literally just held up my two fingers, and I said, "Peace." I said, "Hey, mate." And he just went, Cameron's here. My mum bolted around the corner. She had tears in her eyes, and we embraced and we hugged. And
Cam, you mentioned that, you are a spiritual person. Were you spiritual before the event?
Nowhere near as much after that day, and nowhere near as much as that day. And there was moments that it really turned. And it's still at that stage. For me, it was, this has happened. I haven't found my folks. I potentially could live the rest of my life without them. this is obviously devastating for myself and for so many others that have lost their lives. But I hadn't really touched anywhere near to the spiritual level that I had. And literally did I know that it was only going to happen within hours of that where it first turned. And I remember we all got on the bus to go to basically a hotel in town. And we got into the bus. And like I'm talking, like these are army trucks that we're on. It's outside, you sort of the wind's flowing through your hair, and everyone's sort of shaken up but talking and getting to know each other. And we got dropped off at this hotel, and it was literally like here you go, fend for yourself, all the best. And we got dropped into almost like just a big town hall. It was just a big conference hall, and there was just thousands upon thousands of single mattresses laid on the floor that just literally like dominoes, just literally just laid out side by side. And we all looked at each other with what we had in hand, and we went, righto, I guess we choose our spot. And we chose a sort of a corner spot with everyone, and we all sat down, and I think we were all grateful for being alive. And a lady, we all told our story of what we'd been through, and you're so engrossed in everyone's story. And then it came to me, I told my story about what I'd been through, similar to what I just told you then. And this lady looked me dead in the eye, and she said to me, Cameron, it just wasn't your time. And as a 20-year-old kid, it's a big question. And I remember just thinking, or a big statement, I remember just thinking, I'm sorry, what do you mean? It just wasn't my time. And that's when it started for me, because I remember thinking, well, if this is not my time, when is? What could happen? And from then, my life, and I was a kid that I was happy to be local, white picket fence, dream, family, and just stay put. Never really traveled, because I remember even my cousin used to say to me, mate, I've just gone traveling and it cost me this, but I've got this, this is what I've got. I remember saying to him, what did you get out of that? What did you, and
Well,
he goes,
for those that don't know, like you played professional cricket, and at what, just briefly, because I want to come back to it, but at what level cricket were you? Because, you know, being a sports person, and at that elite level, you are connected with what drives you, which is quite different to a 20-year-old now, or the average 20-year-old. I think that people, kids are cotton wool a little bit too much now. That's my personal thing. But and some might say professional athletes are cotton wooled as well. But but to get to that elite level, you do have to be quite resilient. So you've done a bit of traveling, and I just feel like being 20, you are at a mature age, and for you even now, like that's why I thought you were going to be heaps younger, because and I'm not blowing smoke out your ears here, but I thought you were younger than 40.
thank you.
But it would seem like sort of a couple of years ago, right? It's that present for you.
Certainly, yeah, it would, and it does. But like I said, there's two different types of life. Like there was your first quarter, which is your 20, and then now it's 20 to 40, and that did, in that moment, it changed everything. And like I said, I had my eyes on the prize. I was playing first grade cricket for Manly, and I was just starting to make some inroads and some rep teams. But that was all I ever wanted to do. Travel wasn't I wasn't concerned or fascinated by travel. Like I said, my cousin used to travel everywhere, and I'd say to him, mate, how much did you spend on that? Like I was that. It's like, oh, geez, you could do so much more with that money, like investing and all that. But when she said it wasn't your time, I went, well, when is? And if this could happen here, imagine it could happen all around the world. And there's so many things that I haven't seen. Well, and I remember just saying to my dad, I remember going, let's go see some things. I'm ready to go live and really see some. And so you talk about two completely different scenarios and two humans and mindsets of what I wanted to do. And it basically started from there. And I don't think I ever stopped. I tell you, I didn't.
You've probably had more sliding moments in your life than, and you are only 40, right? And
Yes.
before you were bloody, 30 in your life, you had more sliding moments than a whole school, of kids from, it might have been that selection in the elite, first grade down at Manly on the northern beaches of Sydney, through to, when the wave hit, a decision of, where do you go, and getting on that bus to that very moment where that lady asked you that question, and that was a mindset sliding moment to, um, choosing, I guess, cricket over, at the time, your love of your life, and and then sure enough, finding the true love of your life through an amazing experience as well, which we'll talk about. But with the tsunami, obviously, being reunited with your parents, and how long were you in, outside of Australia, and when did you return to Australia?
We were in that same spot at basically that hotel and the Memorial Hall for 4 days because no one could get out. If you didn't have a booked flight to get out
Yeah.
of Australia, then you didn't stand a chance and you couldn't get out. And we'd already booked. We were going to Koh Samui about 4 or 5 days later to celebrate my 21st. And all my best friends, there's about 15 of us, they all came over to celebrate my 21st at the time. And I remember talking back to them and saying, hey, look, just letting you know I'm safe. And no one's parents at that time wanted them to go. But they all said, no, we're going. We're going for Cam. We're
Right.
going on this trip. So, but we just had to stay. We were stay put for 4 days. But I remember the vision of the airports, and they were just chock-a-block because everyone was trying to get back. And then I know Australian government was pushing for airplanes and new planes to bring people back and bring people home if you didn't have a flight. But we questioned it. We thought, do we go home? But we also went, no, we're not going to let this ruin what it was. And we stayed put, and we tried to help as many as we possibly could. We went back to Patong the next day or 2 days later. That's where, for me personally, I found out what I really was made of, because I remember being on this bus and everyone had to go back to try and find belongings or loved ones or just things that they had to connect back with. And I remember being on that bus and we stopped. And if anyone's been to Patong, like it's an end point. It's not really any way in, and there's no way out. That's the way thing. There's only one way in. And we got to that stage, and I remember everyone that was on the bus, and there was just crying women and just people with still panic and chaos, and their partners were getting off. And I remember just going, I'll lead this. It's going to be okay. How about we set the time? Everyone's going to be back within 30 or 45 minutes just to make sure. Oh, it really sort of hits home when I talk about that, because I was in the moment. And again, I was a 20-year-old kid, and I was just thinking, these leadership qualities that I just discovered just came over me.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking, yep, everyone's going to be okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, and we did. People got their belongings or whatever they did, and we came back, and so it was another big shift for me to understand what I was really made of.
And Cam, did you, in that moment where you literally, obviously it was a conscious decision to say, there needs to be a leader on this bus to support and unite people in their grief, and lift them up to be resilient over the next literally 30, 40, 50 minutes at least. And then, I guess it was one step at a time. Did you have that moment? Like, you literally thought, geez, like, I didn't know this was in me, like at that time,
Definitely.
or that was
Yes,
after?
definitely. That's just, yeah. I found out what I was really made of in that time. And it wasn't like, oh, let's go set out. I just got on the bus trying to, I guess, either help or try and find our belongings, which we didn't, though. Everything was looted at the time from us. The only thing we did have was passports, thankfully. But I remember just in that moment, I guess it was within me. It was just all I wanted to do was I saw people that were in a state of panic or upset or sadness, and I just remember thinking, I just need to make sure these people are okay and they're calm and realize that there is better times that are coming ahead, and that they're safe, basically. And that's when I made those sort of rules and thoughts. And I remember, like, older gentlemen sort of looking at me going, nice job, kid. Like, well done that you've, and and those individuals were calm, and they calmed themselves, and then we got the job done. But I do remember thinking, wow. So I think that's always been in with me. If I see someone in a state, I think that's just whether it be my empathy or my whatever it might be. It was just, I need to make sure you're okay. And I think that leads into my everyday values of mental health and making sure others and that self-care for your first self and then for others is strong.
Yeah, well, you obviously, you were somewhat forced into discovering that, at that time of your life, and then I guess from the tsunami to how many years was it that you continued professional cricket until that point in your life where you had your personal struggles from retiring from professional cricket, needing to look after oneself first? Were you helping others prior to that stage, or was it, really a life's journey and a purpose? I guess Pete's running right now I mean, he's had purpose for so many years, starting Hands Across the Water, and he had this realization of seeing those kids under the tree and understanding that they didn't have a home to go to or family. For you, Cam, was it, where was it? Was it prior to sporting retirement, that elite athlete, or was it going through your personal struggles and looking after that yourself first?
I think throughout the whole time there was definitely meaning of what this mean, and it definitely wasn't self-care, that's for sure. It was, oh wow, let's go. You've been given another chance. I think that's what the meaning I
Yeah,
took from it at that stage. And I always thought the devastation of upwards of 220,000 people lost their lives. Why should I be any different? I've been given this second chance. I'm going to go live. I'm going to go live my life to the absolute fullest. And I basically got this tattoo here.
yeah, yeah, yep.
It says
So
"Live, love."
those that are listening to us on Spotify, because there's going to be some on YouTube and some on Spotify, if you could read that out.
Yeah, it says "Live, love, embrace." So
Yes.
basically, and this was, I got this on, I think the following next Christmas Day, the following Christmas. Live your
Yeah.
life, live it to the fullest. Love your life and love others, and embrace every opportunity and challenge that comes your way. And I remember just think that was the epitome. Yeah, that was the meaning of that in my life and what I experienced. But like I said, I just lived it. I went for it, and I was just like, let's go. I was a yes man. I was like, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So there was some extent how phenomenal it was, and I had some incredible experiences. But little did I know, it genuinely led me to burnout. Led me to falling flat on my face once cricket was done, because I never looked after me. I never processed the trauma that I actually went through. Looking back, it was genuine PTSD. I remember coming back, and when people were talking about it, I'd be in a room, they'd just talk about what had happened. I'd just break out into huge sweats. And I remember just
Yes.
thinking, oh, geez, just hot in here. And I'd have to go outside. And every time I did, but two and two didn't come together. I never connected the dots to think, oh, geez, that you're dealing with something that your body has some serious trauma with right now, and this is the reaction. I'd break anytime I'd start talking about it, I'd just break out into sweats and just think, oh, it's hot. Never would I think about it. And then, years went on. My cricket definitely started to suffer from it. My life started to suffer from it because I hadn't processed it, I hadn't talked about it, and I just buried it within me about what I'd really experienced, because I made sure everyone else was okay, my parents and everyone else, and I never once really worried about me. And it definitely took my mind away from the game, what I was really trying to achieve, and I just fell in a hole. Once cricket was done, it gave me that opportunity to really reflect on my life and where it had taken me. And that moment was in a hospital bed in mental rehabilitation that had taken me to that far.
Did you feel pressure through that survival and being given another chance to, live every moment or do some good? Like, was there pressure around that, or it was or just burnout?
Yeah, I don't think it was pressure, because I loved it. I thrived in it.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful for it, because I was playing cricket, I was traveling the world, and I just had this mentality to say, gosh, like maybe I shouldn't be here, but so let's go do that. Let's go experience that. Things that you just go for. I
Do you have
genuinely,
any Do you have any suggestions on those that do feel pressure, perhaps, being a father or a mother or a survivor, or running 1,400 kilometers and being empty and going, I got to do it. I got to get up tomorrow, or I got to, one step. one step ahead. Do you have any suggestions or advice around maybe that?
I do. And if I look back, I was a yes man. I went for it. I lived to the fullest. But one thing I didn't have in place was my values. I think that's so important. That's what I'm trying to teach in a cricket mentoring space in the youngsters from 10 years old to anywhere to adults. And I'm trying to teach these kids values. And I definitely didn't have them. Not that you didn't have them, they just weren't set in stone. And I think when
Yep.
and because your values set your behaviors, and the behaviors obviously create your actions. And I just didn't have those. And I think now that I have them, like health is one of my biggest value, because if I'm healthy, then I can look after my friends, family, loved ones, everyone else. And so that wasn't instilled in place. Kindness and gratitude, these things that are now my values now that I live by every single day, which sets me on this path that when decisions or questions come in, I can easily answer them because do they sit in line with my values? No. Well, then I move on. Do they sit in line with my values? Yes, move forward. And that would be my biggest one as a parent, as a kid, doesn't matter who. And a lot of people talk about them, I get that, but there's one thing talking about them and sort of thinking, yeah, I've got values, but to really identifying them and knowing them, that's when you can take life, really take it on and understand how you live every single day.
And so the first step is, really identifying those values, and they're probably deep within us, but we can't articulate them. And, you can get help probably through, articulating what they are, and then linking your purpose to those values. Is there a process going through there?
Yeah, if anyone's looking to establish their values, like what's important to you, or what brings you joy, or brings you the best version of you, and who is the person that you want to step into and be in the essence of every single day. And if you can
Yep.
identify that and basically just have an eagle high hawk of who that person is, then that gives you a pretty good idea. Like I said, is that person kind? Is they loving? Are they grateful for every experience? Is health a big one because they're looking after themselves, that in essence can help each other? A big one of mine, accountability, is a huge one. I got to a stage where when I was on my at my worst in my hospital bed, I remember thinking, wow, wherever I couldn't put pants on. Anthony, it got to a stage where physically, mentally, emotionally, I was crippled. I couldn't put pants on. And I remember just thinking, going, wow, what a mess you are, mate. You're a professional cricketer and now you can't put the necessary task of pants on. But I also do remember going, all right, okay, well, if we're going to continue and you've done some things, that's cool. That's great. But if you're going to continue, then what you've got to be responsible for all your decisions, your good ones, your bad ones, your ugly ones, whatever it is. Can't blame anyone.
Yep.
Can't shift blame to anyone. It's just you've got to be accountable for them. And I remember at that stage when I decided, okay, let's go. And then I remember this is again when I feel that spirituality came over me, was I felt the universe went, oh, Cameron, thank you so much. It's about like we've been waiting for you to say that and be accountable
Yeah.
for so long. Watch us show your life. Watch us help your life go to a whole nother level. And basically it did. Like, and then that's no word of a lie.
Yeah.
From that moment on, my life just was on the upright to where we are today.
And how many years ago was that? And did that coincide with being invited or giving the opportunity to, I guess, meet your current angel in life, real life, being unmarried at first sight?
Yeah, absolutely did, because it was in that moment that I went, okay, I've got to be accountable for my life and my flaws and my failures and my lessons and my learnings and my good things as well. And I had a decision, and basically I opted. I was either thinking, am I in or am I out in terms of life?
Yeah.
Genuine.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, I've pretty
I
much
love that.
achieved
I
it.
love that, Cam. Like, I don't want to just roll over that. Like, that's a big question, and one that, probably, I don't know. I reckon 1 in 1,000 guys and girls ask themselves, "Am I
Mm,
in or am I out
yeah.
of life?" Because we can
Yep.
just step along, or we can step up, or just, open our arms and allow the energy to flow out and in. Because it's not necessarily stepping up. It's just being open, right? I love that.
And that's what it was. It was the question. I sort of imagined this line in the sand type thing, and I'm like, am I in or am I out? And I just remember thinking, and if I'm in, there's no grey area. I'm not going to fall into victim mode like I potentially have in the past. I'm again accountable, created my values then. I'm all about it. I'm taking responsibility, and I'm not going to live grey area. I'm going to live it to the fullest again. And if I've been given another third chance, then I'm going to live it. And again, and I just went, let's go. I was going to live it as best as I possibly could, and I wasn't going to question it. I wasn't going to create blame upon anyone else. And it was in that moment that I went, okay, well, again, what does that look like? What's driving you? What's your purpose that's going to keep you going? And I remember thinking, geez, well, I've achieved pretty much everything that I have and wanted. And you can imagine this. I'm sitting in a hospital bed, Anthony. Like I'm sitting in I'm sitting on a hospital bed, and the sheets are sort of rustling. It's not like you're sitting on silk cotton sheets. Do you know? I'm sitting on this single bed, and I just remember thinking, what does that look like? I remember going, well, I haven't met my soulmate. I haven't got married, and I haven't started a family. They're things that you always wanted. Don't give up now. And it was like, okay, they're the things that are going to keep me going. And the next part, which I feel for anyone was just acceptance. And that's in terms of acceptance of time and grace, because I was thinking, okay, well, these things are going to happen. I think in today's age, we want things instantaneously, right? So me, it was like, well, that's mate, you're in a pretty bad way right now. I don't think anyone's going to marry you in the state that you're in. So that's not going to happen tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen next week or next month or next year. But that took me over 10 years. But what it did, it allowed me to take the process to go, okay, well, let's just take the first step towards that. And that was going to every group, every therapy session, and finding out what's brought me to this position. What are the decisions I've made? What makes me work? What makes me tick? Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. I just had to find out more about me and sort of start to connect the dots and why I'm here. And that's the process that it took. But it took some real courage to look myself in the mirror, warts and all, ugly, and go, all right, man, this is where you're at. But I accept
it. You must have obviously amazing parents, supportive parents, a great circle of friends who at times you weren't able to talk to, and then you found your way to be able to talk to people. And did that, finding the love and being married, at what stage did you say, I want to help more, more people in terms of getting involved with Gotcha for Life? And if you could share, what Gotcha for Life is and, what it means to you and your involvement today.
Well, I remember sitting in the same process, Anthony, sitting in that bed and thinking, geez, I'm hurting here right now. I'm exhausted and I'm tired and this sucks. Like this feeling right now that I'm feeling, which unfortunately a lot of individuals, majority men, unfortunately the men that we lose per day, 7 per day, they feel exhausted. And I felt that. But the thing that kept me going was I thought, I know there's some authentic happiness within me. And there's still so much joy within me. I'm just not feeling it right now, but that's okay. And I remember making a commitment and a decision to say, if I get through this, if I'm given the opportunity to get through this and find that authentic, joyful self again, then I will do everything in my power to help those that are going through the same thing come out the other side. And that's how I live basically in my life. And every time I'm having a conversation with someone today to say, I understand where you're at. I understand what you're feeling and I get it. But somewhere along the lines, I promise you I've felt that way. And I'm a living, breathing example that if you just hold on and you're vulnerable and you can open up, then better things are around the corner. You just got to give yourself that chance. And that's the conversations that I have today. And I'm fortunate enough that I have them all around Australia, all around the world now in terms of the mental health space and for Gotcha for Life, that we're encouraging that vulnerability and self-care and giving yourself that chance. But I think when people can sort of, again, pull themselves back and just relinquish and ask for help and know that they're not worrying alone, that there is help available, and that's when help is on the way.
You're, you have, I was going to, I was going to say it, and then I wasn't going to say it, but I thought, hang on a sec, like we should be more open. We should just say what we're thinking. I was going to say you have a beautiful soul, and years gone by, you wouldn't say that about another bloke, and this is the conversations we have to have. But you yourself, you were touched by angels, being away from that lady asking you that question. I think she was an angel, just asking you that. I think that you know you have landed on probably so many shoulders, and you would not even realize that the lives that you've changed, and many lives you would know you have changed. Like Pete, Pete is over there running with the purpose of giving more to already what he has dedicated his, I guess, second part of his life. If we're talking about halves or quarters, probably 2 quarters of his life, too, and Claire as well, and the whole hands community. I think if you were in Thailand now, knowing that the heat and it's 35 to 40 degrees. I've asked a few people this, and I want to ask you, Cam. Pete, I don't know if you saw his short yesterday. He was empty, and Claire said, you look cooked. Oh no, how do you feel? And Claire said, I'm cooked. He said you could spike me with a fork. Like I'm just absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
If you went up to Pete at the end of his 60-day, 6 kilometer day, or it might be in his first 5 kilometers, which is maybe the hardest, would you have words of wisdom? Would you say nothing? Would you hug him? Would you just look at him? Would you be in his aura? What sort of things would you share with him from Cam to Pete? Because he's going to be listening to this at some stage of his journey.
I'd certainly be in his aura, because what he's doing and what he has done from back in 2004 to what he's doing today, and continue through that process. I'd certainly be in his aura, let him know just how magnificent he is. And sometimes we get out of our own heads and we're not thinking about the bigger picture. He's just trying to do the best he can. But when we can step back into that and realize that this is so much bigger, and the incredible job that he's doing, and then it's just the one more step. And I think we all always know that we've got one more step in this. And I just go with him. I just basically just go with him. I'd certainly hug him. It'd be sweaty. It'd be a beautiful man hug, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd just go with him, and just how proud he should be of the lives that he's already impacted, that he continues to impact, and the inspiration that he is to create a bigger ripple effect, not just in Thailand, but obviously all around the world. And what's really exciting is that I'm taking my whole family for Christmas and for Boxing Day. So we're going to be there, and
Right.
yeah, so it's a big occasion, and we're going to be over
Yes.
there in Phuket
Right.
from the 23rd to over Christmas and Boxing Day to commemorate, and hopefully we'll catch up with Pete where he might be at some stage as well.
Oh, that would be incredible, Cam, and such a special thing to do, for your family. And you said the words, we've all just got one more step. And, it is just taking one more step, no matter, I guess, where you're at, in your lows, and when you see people, we've just got one more step in us, right?
That's all we have to do. Just the courage to just take that one more step, because you talk about sliding doors, Anthony, like that sliding door has the ability for you to walk through it with just that one more step, because you just don't know. So if you've got that courage to just take that breath and take that one more step, we just don't know what's on the other side, but you've got to take that. You've got to find it within you, whatever that looks like, to just do it. And that can build so much momentum, or that can inspire one more person that keeps you going. And that's what's within all of us.
Yep. And now you're a father of you've had that dream or that goal or that it's not really a goal, but you know that passion to be a father and a husband. How many kids have you got now? Two, yeah.
Yeah, Ollie, he's 4 years, and then Carter, who's just come into the world, he's 4 months. So yeah, we're sort of right
Oh,
in the
mate,
thick of
yeah.
it again.
Oh, yeah. Happy traveling. For that. That should be exciting. A 4-year-old, like totally. You know, if he's got the little sports person in, he's running around, and that should be fun on the plane. A 4-month-old as well,
Yeah, thanks.
without
Don't,
their own
don't jinx
seat.
it, mate, but thank you for that. Yeah.
No, I've been there, done that, so it's all good. It's all good. Cam, it's been absolutely amazing chatting with you, and you know, just hearing your journey, those sliding door moments, how you chose your path to change others people's lives, and I guess to change your own life first. And yeah, I truly hope I get to meet you, and I'll give you a big man hug, mate.
Thank you, mate. Hopefully, Thailand, 35 degrees, sweaty. But, mate, no, thank you. I really appreciate it, mate. But I think that with anyone sort of listening, we're dealt with so many challenges or hurdles that get in front of us. But I think it's up to us to create the meaning of what that is for us all. Like some people could say this, oh, this was meant to happen for you. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But it's all about the meaning that you give it. What does that mean to you and how you deal with it in the long run? Because this could have been the way I did it was I just went along with my journey and went, yes, let's go. But it'll always tie back into something else. And I had to find that meaning to it. And it's come full circle. And now it's my time to obviously spread that light and that hope for others that might be going through a challenging time. And just like Pete is over there with Run to Remember, how magnificent he is, just the spirit that he's got within him and the people that he's inspiring is, and the impact on lives that he's genuinely changing is phenomenal. So huge love to Pete. Thank you to you guys
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone at Hands Across the Water, mate.
Oh, mate, appreciate it. And all those that want to support Pete, go over to Hands Across the Water. It's not why you should do it, but there is a decent prize of 5,000 cash. Like buy a kilometre, buy several kilometres, a little ticket. I haven't got one with me now, but yeah, get in there, support Pete, and thanks again, Ken. Okay, cheers, mate.
Such a pleasure, Angie. Thanks for having me, mate. You're a legend.
Cheers, peace.
Much love.